Members, it's 9:30. We've already formed a quorum. I now call the meeting to order. The first item on the agenda is confirmation of the minutes of the meeting held on the 10th of December 2012, which has already been distributed to you before the meeting. The Secretariat has not received any proposal for amendment, so if members have no comment, we'll have the minutes confirmed. Item 2 on the agenda, information paper issued since the last meeting. Since the last meeting, the Secretariat received from the administration a letter to me dated the 24th of January 2013. It's paper 364-01. This paper carries an annex. And through this letter, the administration suggests that spectrum trading originally scheduled for today's meeting will be postponed. In the letter, an explanation is offered with an annex. There's another letter with the same content. Mainly it's saying that the administration has a consultancy report that has not yet been released. Item 3 on the agenda, date of next meeting and items for discussion. Now we will have a visit to the Cyberport, which is an annual event. Every time, very few members attended. It will be on the 26th of February at 10:30 a.m. to visit the entertainment training program and facilities, as well as other Cyberport facilities. And then we'll also have lunch with the management of the Cyberport. Later, a notice will be issued to you. Those who are interested, please sign up. I think it's better for some members to turn up, otherwise every time the event was not held. It's good to look at the properties there. Our next regular meeting will be held on the 11th of March at 2:30 p.m. 2 items were arranged. RTHK's community involvement broadcasting service and the role and future of RTHK. Some of our members are particularly interested in it. And then proposal to inject additional funding into the Trade Smart initiative. So these will be the 2 items to be discussed at the next meeting. Ms. Claudia Mo? Well, I'd like to ask about our next regular meeting to be held on the 11th of March. That will be a regular meeting. Previously, the LegCo passed an unbinding motion that before the end of March, the administration should issue the free TV service licenses. So, on the 11th of March, should we discuss if by the end of March there's no action or reaction from the administration, should this panel take special action? For example, C.Y. Leung is very much interested in setting up independent committees. He claims that the committees are independent, but we want a genuine independent committee to handle issues related to the issuance of free TV service licenses. Last time we had a special meeting on free TV service licenses, and of course you saw the administration's reply. It is impossible to expect that the administration will issue the licenses by the end of March following the LegCo's motion. That's impossible. Well, you can raise this in the House Committee. We don't have any independent committee. You can ask the House Committee to set up a subcommittee or select committee to handle the issue. After passing House Committee, you can go to the LegCo. Last time, we already convened a special meeting. I think all that have to be said have been said. It is impossible to have the licenses issued before the end of March. If you're not satisfied, you want the panel to follow up, you can do so. You can make a suggestion. I don't understand. Well, you can move a motion now. It doesn't matter. You have the right to do so. You can now move a motion, and then later we can handle your motion. But I'd like to listen to the views of other members first. Ms. Claudia Mo wants to set up an independent committee. to ask the CE to explain why the free TV service licenses are not to be issued by the end of March. Mr. Christopher Chung. Well, Mr. Chairman, I think you're rather rational. If we want something to be done before the end of March, well, even though they have no concrete proposals, so long as the issue is underway and they can explain the progress to us, it will be possible or feasible. I don't think we need an independent committee. So what do you know their latest progress? Well, did he give you any firm date when he mentioned progress? Well, if he is to have an exact date and an action plan, it's okay. Well, but there's nothing. Ms. Emily Lau? Mr. Chairman, we would like the administration to respond. Of course, during the debate on that day, they already responded, but we did have a conclusion which was passed on that day. In the past, the administration used to respond to motions passed by electrical members. So, Mr. Chairman, I think by the end of March, you should ask the administration to respond to the content of the motion passed. Should it be on the 11th of March or any date? Anyway, you have to ask them to respond. If members find anything not all right, we should follow up. We should not let the end of March pass without them doing something, because that motion was passed and all EDGCO members agreed to that. So, Mr. Chairman, you should ask the administration to respond on the 11th of March. Well, Ms. Emily Lau asked me to write a letter in the name of the panel to the administration to ask the administration to respond to the motion passed. Yes, the motion was passed. Any comment? If not, Ms. Claudia Mo, do you agree with Ms. Emily Lau? Are you going to withdraw your proposal? Well, if this is to be discussed on the 11th of March, then the administration still has time to react to our motion. Well, I will write to them. If you ask them to come again, if we have an agenda item on the 11th of March, they'll repeat the same stuff. So it is impossible to us to discuss the issuance of free TV service licenses again on the 11th of March. I can only write to them that say, last time we moved a motion to ask you to issue the licenses by the end of March. What's the progress? Please respond. It will be the same as what we discussed at the special meeting, as Mr. Christopher Chung will ask for the progress. If you're still not satisfied, you can propose other solutions. Basically, I agree with Ms. Emily Lau. However, I must criticize what Mr. Christopher Chung said just now. Chairman? Do we have a sequence of speaking? Mr. Christopher Chung, would you please stop for a while? I'll let you have the floor later. Very quick. I'm most dissatisfied with his comment that were irrational. The LegCo formally passed a motion to request the administration to issue free TV licenses by the end of March. We now want to pursue this issue to the end. Chairman, you said that if the administration is to come again, they will repeat and repeat themselves. But we're here to monitor the government. You cannot say that, oh, for these issues, it will be useless to ask them to come, and we need not have other meetings. Well, I did not say we would not need to have other meetings. It's for me to say whether a certain item should be put on the agenda. I just want to explain the background to you. It's really a waste of time. I explained to you, you can make a proposal, we can take a vote, you can ask for a select committee. Don't criticize me. Well, I tell you, I won't add an agenda item to the agenda of the 11th of March. And I won't call another special meeting. All right? We've had a special meeting. I agree with Ms. Emily Lau that the end of March is the deadline. The motion, although not binding on the government, sets the end of March as a deadline. So we have to ask them again. We have to put on record the progress. I don't know what you want to do. You can make a proposal, but time is limited. Well, right from the very beginning, I said that I basically agree with Ms. Emily Lau that we would ask the administration to state its position once again. what reaction it has before the end of March. Depending on its response, I'll plan for our next step. All right, point understood. Christopher Chung. Well, Mr. Chairman, I did not criticize anybody for being irrational. I only commend you, Chairman, as being rational. I did not say they're not rational. I did not say that they're wasting time. Everybody has his or her viewpoint. Well, we've been discussing this for 10 minutes. Don't waste our time. Mr. Wong Ting Kwong. Well, Mr. Chairman, I heard Christopher Chung say very clearly that he said that, Chairman, you're irrational. He did not say any member was irrational. Chairman, I support your view. At the last special meeting, we passed a motion that we would like to have a response from the administration before the end of March. Before the end of March, if we are to take additional action, is apparently against the motion carried last time. And even if any committee is to be set up, you can ask the Secretariat. I believe we have to queue up because the list is full at the moment. And by the time it's our turn, everything will have already passed. So I agree with Ms. Emily Lau. It depends on needs. All right, I'll write to the Secretary for Commerce and Economic Development, asking him to respond to our motion. That is to ask the administration to issue free TV licenses by the end of March. And we would like to have the progress, and we'd like to have a concrete reply. If we're not satisfied, will depend on what follow-up action to take. And then at the last regular meeting, Mr. Toh asked the panel to follow up on issues related to the cyberport. If there's no other comments, well, basically we agree with her last time, so we can put this on our agenda item sometime. The DBC shareholding has changed. Well, some of our members may want to know the latest progress. What's meant by public affairs programs? Are they being controlled by the liaison office? Why is it that Mr. Albert Chang sold all his shares? Is it that he's returning the right to the communists or to the public? So we can have a discussion item sometime. I personally received some letters which say that once they said that they would like to have a litigation fund. One of our electrical members, Mr. Lee Yan, is a trustee of the fund. Well, no litigation, so the $5 million should be returned. How? They say for those with a receipt, they should be returned, otherwise they should be donated. So I think we're concerned about that. In particular, if one of our members is involved in this litigation fund, we should also discuss ourselves. We should not just discuss other people's matters. And then Mr. Charles Mock and Mr. Lo Wai Kwok would like to have an additional item on the agenda next time. That is on the Communications Authority, on the creation of a manager post and request put to the telecommunications companies. Well, one member represents the IT sector, another represents the engineering sector. In the ESC, on the 26th of October, the administration already raised this. Well, perhaps those two members should follow up on the relevant papers. In the ESC, on the review of engineering post, the government said that after considering members' views and requests from the engineering sector in the latest round of consultation, working objectives and timetable would be reviewed, including whether or not telecommunications engineers should be put under regulation. That means the ESC is discussing the matter. It's not what you mentioned in your letters. That is not about the inclusion option and the freezing of the telecommunications engineer grade. So I would like members to understand this. Well, the ESA discussed this last year. During the last term of the LegCo, this panel and the LegCo discussed this N times. And at the end, in the ESC, they changed it to whether or not to include. That is this is not definite, so I won't put this on the next agenda.
Mr. Mock, I understand your point, Chairman. No, this is not my view. I'm just stating the facts. The facts. I won't deny what you know. But other fact is, many engineers are very concerned about this situation and have reflected to us, because the consultation is in process. The communications Office of the Communications Authority is consulting, and the engineers are worried that the authority has preconceived ideas about the consultation, because this is a new LegCo, and we believe that it is necessary to follow on that. Regarding discussions by the last ESC and last panel, well, I understand it, but we can always revive discussion of any topic, and that's why I have this request. And why is it urgent? Because the consultancy has already started. Engineers have reflected to us a great worry. If we drag our feet too long, and after the report is published, that is already a fait accompli. So, well, before this session ends in July, we can follow up on that. We can include it in the agenda of one of our meetings, but not the next one. Well, if your decision is we can discuss it later, I won't object to it. I can reflect this to the relevant parties, but I hope that we can discuss it as soon as possible. Emily Lau, I agree to this approach. Please ask the administration to give us written replies to the issues raised by members first. And then please include it in our agenda as soon as possible. As I said, it is carrying out our public consultation, and the papers also of the ESC. We appreciate the engineers' concerns because we discussed that many times in this panel last term. So we can have another discussion, and I accept Ms. Emily Lau's proposal. We write to the administration at once to ask it to brief us on the progress, okay? Item 4. Arrangements for the frequency spectrum in the 1.9 to 2.2 GHz band upon expiry of the existing frequency assignments for 3G mobile services. All right. The agreement is expiring soon. Please invite the administration to join us. We have Mr. Gregory So, Secretary for Commerce and Economic Development, Ms. Susie Ho, Permanent Secretary, and Mr. Joe Wong, Deputy Secretary, both for Commerce and Economic Development. And then we've also got Mr. Y.K. Hart, Deputy DG from Office of the CA, Ms. Eliza Lee, DG of Communications, from the same office, and Mr. Danny Lau, Assistant Director, Ms. Linda Yu, Head of Competition and Economic Analysis, Office of CA, and Ms. Hyphen Ho Chang, PAS. Mr. Greg So, thank you. Members of the public have access to a very convenient mobile communication services using 3G. 1.9 to 2.2 GHz band for 3G services were auctioned to 4 mobile network operators for a period of 15 years ending the 21st of October 2016. We are now consulting the public on the reassignment of the frequency spectrum upon expiry. This is already the second stage consultation. Reassignment of the spectrum involve complicated policy considerations. We have to ensure, on the one hand, customer service continuity, and on the other hand, proper use of rare or scarce resources and also to promote innovation. The paper mentioned three options. We have given reference to the spectrum policy framework promulgated by the government in October 2007, and the framework was finalized after public consultation as well. Now I give the floor to OFCA to brief members on details of the second stage public consultation. Thank you. DG, please. Ms. Yu. Thank you. The Secretary has given us an introduction. There are four MNOs, namely CSL Limited, Hong Kong Telecommunications or Hong Kong Limited, and Hutchison and Smart Tone. And China Mobile Hong Kong has not allocated with any 3G frequency assignment, and we followed the principles laid out in the spectrum policy framework promulgated in October 2007. Now, when there is competing demands for the spectrum, we will adopt a full-fledged market-based approach unless there are overriding public interests. Secondly, upon expiry of any assignment period, there should be no legitimate expectation that there will be any rights of renewal or rights of first refusal of any license or spectrum assignment. And third, if a spectrum assignment is to be renewed with different radio frequencies assigned or not renewed upon the expiry of an assignment, notification will be given to the spectrum assignee within a reasonable period of time before expiry, and that is 3 years. That is by October 2013. We must come up with an arrangement to satisfy these principles. So we have 2 stages of consultation. In March last year, we issued the first document. We have included 3 possible options. Option 1 is an administratively assigned approach. Second, a full-fledged market-based approach, that is re-auctioning. 3, a hybrid between administrative assigned and market-based approach, that is the right of first refusal to the incumbent 3G operators, and part of the spectrum will be returned to the CA for re-auction. The consultation lasted 3.5 months. When it ended in last July 2012, we received 19 submissions and supplementary submissions. 5 MNOs, the business partners or equipment vendors and works contractors, and also 3 members of the public responded to the consultation. So we have analyzed the submissions. We believe there are competing demands for the spectrum because of a strong growth in mobile data usage. If you look at the red line starting from 2009, on average, the mobile data usage per person has been rising sharply. So there is a clear demand for mobile data usage. And then China Mobile, in its submission and publicly, has expressed that it is very eager to acquire some of the 3G spectrum. According to our policy framework, when there are competing demands, then we should go for auctioning unless there are overriding public interests to be considered. Well, under option 2, the existing MNOs might see a change in the spectrum allocated to them. They might lose some or even all of the spectrum, and even if they are granted spectrum, they may be assigned different frequencies. So we have to assess the possible impact. According to our assessment, if existing MNOs see their spectrum reduced, then there would be a slower data download speed and a greater number of drop calls. And if they have spectrum changes, then there will also be weakening or even complete loss of indoor mobile coverage. And places affected would include all MTRC premises, the airport and major shopping malls, so on and so forth. Drop in quality service and also indoor mobile coverage, the implications can be far-reaching. And the transitional period can last 2 to 3 years after reassignment in October 2016. So believe there is overriding public interest for us not to go for a full-fledged market-based approach in reassignment. That being the case, we have to compare options 1 and 3 to see which one is superior in meeting the principles. Option 1 is a status quo choice. Option 3 is a mixed mode. We believe option 3 is preferable because it can ensure continuous service continuity and can also achieve the objectives for retaining for reassignment. We can encourage competition, innovation, investment, so on and so forth. So in the second consultation stage, we propose to consult the public as well as the MNOs. The issues include giving a right of first refusal to existing MNNs and also the amount of frequency to be reauctioned. And then we have a proposed schedule of a proposed band plan for reassignment, and also how to set the utilization fee and also the auction reserve price. First, we proposed that 2/3 the incumbent 3Gs will be allowed to keep at 20 megahertz of the frequency currently used. This will ensure that they can keep the current peak data download speed of 42 megabits per second to be maintained. And then this will also enable the incumbent 3G operators to maintain an acceptable level of service quality. So each 3G operators will have to give us back 1/3 of its spectrum, so that they will have 40 megahertz in total. Now, if they would like to relinquish all, then the spectrum will be pulled together for reauctioning. So this is a proposed band plan. So S1, S3, S4, S9, S12 will be reauctioned. So take Hong Kong TSA as an example. It can bid for S3. So it will have the opportunity to retain its existing spectrum. It can also bid for, say, S4 to expand its network. Well, for a new entry, S3, S9, S10 will ensure that they can have continuous spectrum, and I think this is already a very effective arrangement. Regarding the utilization fee, spectrum utilization fee, it will be determined by auction. as regards the right of first refusal to existing 3G operators, it will be decided by the market. We have two proposed methods. The first is to make reference to the annual royalty payment payable by the incumbents under the existing licenses for the right to use the SG spectrum in 2015-16, and it will be 5.1 million per megahertz or 77 million per megahertz after multiplying it by 15 to reflect the value for usage period of 15 years. So the royalty fee will be $77 million, or the fee determined after auctioning, whichever is the higher.
We also give reference to the weighted average of the past market benchmarks. The weighted average of the past market benchmarks is calculated at around, say, what we mentioned just now, the amount of $77 million, as well as the SUF of the 2.5 to 2.6 gigahertz spectrum and the 850 to 900 megahertz spectrum as determined in the auction in January 2009 and March 2011 respectively. At that time it was $98 million. After making reference to these three market indicators, we'll be able to understand that the weighted average of the past market benchmarks is calculated at around $80 million per megahertz, taking into account the royalty payment payable by the incumbents in 2015-16. And upcoming, the SUF of the 2.5 to 2.6 gigahertz spectrum will be auctioned. However, we've made it clear that account would not be taken of the SUF in the upcoming auction of the spectrum in the 2.5 to 2.6 gigahertz band, scheduled to be held in March 2013, to prevent any strategic bidding behavior from distorting the outcome of the 2013 auction. Now, who can take part in the auction? All interested parties can take part, including the incumbent 3G operators, irrespective of whether or not they've exercised the right of first refusal for the RFR spectrum. As for the auction reserve price, it has to be set at a higher level to indicate the lowest genuine value of the spectrum. And as you can see, in determining the fee, the auction result and the reserve price are closely related. We would like to guard against any kind of strategic behavior. It is proposed to set the auction reserve price at a relatively high level, which is indicative of the true minimum value of the reserve auction spectrum. The simultaneous multi-round ascending, that is ASMRA auction format, is also proposed. And you are very familiar with this format, as it had been used since 2009. That means for 44 megahertz band, it would be auctioned, so we would not propose any ceiling. But if there are two or more incumbents deciding not to use their RFR right to gain the RFR spectrum, then at least 80 megahertz of the spectrum will be available for auction. But the possibility of this is not high. If this really happens, we'll set a spectrum cap of 40 megahertz of spectrum. This means that the incumbent 3G operators that have exercised their right of first refusal to retain the RFR spectrum of 2 times 10 megahertz will be allowed to bid for at most 2 times 10 megahertz of the re-auctioned spectrum. So much for my presentation, Chairman. Mr. Charles Mock, Mr. Christopher Chong, Ms. Claudia Mo, and another member queuing up. And we also receive a faxed submission from the incumbent 3G operators. Of course, they oppose the administration's proposal. You have their submission in both English and Chinese. Now, the administration is consulting the public on option 3. The pros and cons of that option have already been set out in the paper. So members, when you speak, if you have any interest to declare, please declare the interest. And if you're connected to any of the operators, please declare your interest such that you won't be queried. Mr. Charles Mock, well, I'm also connected with some of them. Well, because I'm using the services of some of the operators, but I don't think I need to name them one by one. I think option 3, that is the proposal, is neither here nor there. I think continuity of service is very important because that's overriding public interest. If you adopt other options, for example, option 2, speed, quality service will drop. There may be drop of connection in premises like MTR, major shopping centers, etc. Signals will be weakened, coverage will be reduced, etc., etc. And the network operators will have to chase after what had been happening, particularly before and after the problem. Well, a few months in advance, the operators should know whether or not they could retain their spectrum. So the situation is worrying. I'd like to know whether the administration has assessed option 2. Well, you're proposing option 3. For option 2, you still have to take back certain spectrum. So how better option 3 is when compared with option 2? You mentioned continuity of customer service for option 3, but still some spectrum have to be taken back. So customers will still be affected. So what are the differences between option 2 and option 3? You want option 3 because you want to retain the highest degree of competition. But in the previous consultation, only one company expressed interest in competition. That is, to participate in the auction. That is China Mobile. Have you assessed what institutions or telecommunications companies intend to join the competition? If eventually nobody comes forward and only one operator, that is the same operator, will gain the spectrum, then quality of service cannot be enhanced. Competition is not enhanced either. Of course, you don't aim at earning the spectrum fee. Well, even if you continue to use option 1, you can still impose a very high fee. So I'd like to ask these questions. Well, there are actually 2 questions. Who will answer? Mr. Chairman, first of all, for the comparison between option 2 and option 3 in terms of continuity of service, for sure, option 2 will produce huge impact because if we're to auction the spectrum in question, some operators may get more spectrum, some less, or not even one spectrum get sold in the auction. So after considering all factors to support all indoor mobile services, there will have to be a re-establishment of service that will take 2 to 3 years. So in that case, indoor services will be totally not covered. As there will be this huge and long-term implication, the government deems it an overriding public interest. So not all spectrum will be put on auction, although we know there's a competition need. For option 3, for the existing operators, if they make use of their first refusal right, then at least they can get back 2/3 of their spectrum. And for these 2/3 spectrum, the incumbent operators will be able to keep the 42 mega Mbps, that is the highest data download speed. As for the remaining spectrum, although the incumbent operators won't be able to get it back, under the auction proposal, 5 extra spectrum can be auctioned, and this 2 times 10 megahertz RFR spectrum each will be able to support 2 times the download speed at the moment. That is 80 Mbps. So under various circumstances, incumbent 3G, one operator expressed very strong interest in this because at present it doesn't own any 3G spectrum. So it will make good use of the newly obtained spectrum. As for residual capacity of the network, that operating is actually renting services from the incumbent operators for operating 3G services. Of course, to incumbent 3G operators in terms of time frame and fees, they would of course want to guard against any new rival. So we believe the auction option is a better option. Now 3 minutes each. Mr. Chamok's questions were actually the most important part of our question. That's why I let the administration have more time to answer. Well, free market is not an option. Option 1 is not an option. Option 2 is not an option. So we end up with option 3. And today, that's the crux of our discussion. Well, some existing operators are renting spectrum from incumbent 3G operators. So I'd like the administration to spend more time on answering Mr. Charles Mok's rather professional questions. Next, Mr. Christopher Chong. Mr. Chairman, for the new contracts, how long will they be? And then how will 4G impact on 3G? In the next 3 years, 5 years, 10 years, or by the time when the contracts expire? In terms of usage, how will the curve run on our reliability on 4G and 3G? Thirdly, I agree that for option 3, we should auction the unused spectrum because the incumbent 3G operators are not using up all their spectrum. That is to guard against oligarchy. Well, can some operators just provide telephone services or simple data services? Well, graphics may not be too good. That's okay for 3G. So should we encourage more operators to come forward? DG, concerning the tenure of the licenses, it will also be 15 years to tie in with the 3G spectrum period. Be it 3G or 4G, we now have a total number of patrons of almost $10 million, and 3G services almost cover the whole of Hong Kong, and 5 operators are started with 4G. There's a difference between 3G and 4G. For 3G is between 1.9 to 2.2 GHz band, that is the 2 times 10 megahertz. Of course, we also have 900 megahertz, which can serve 3G. For 4G is basically 2.5 to 2.6 gigahertz band and 1,800 megahertz, some of it. And every time for 3G and 4G, so long as there's a supply, we do it by way of auction. So the 3G spectrum has always been in the hands of different operators. I know, but I would like to know more about the actual services? Well, from the PowerPoint presentation, you know that the number of users is rising very rapidly. And even for 3G, competition will remain very fierce because 4G just started. Now, members can read this slide. Well, it's a very rapid rise in the number of users. In the next 10 to 15 years, so long as there's a spectrum, there will be users.
Mr. Sin Chung Ka. The expiry date is October 2016, and the administration would like to do the auctioning if it is chosen to be done in 2014. Now, what about broadcasting spectrum? For ATV and TVB, well, their licenses will also have to be renewed. I know that for free TV licenses, well, these licensees also have the right to use the spectrum. The expiry date of the licenses of free TV licenses will even be earlier. I think it's in November 2015 or around that time. Yet the administration has no policy as to how to deal with broadcasting spectrum. Whether spectrum will be auctioned when the use expires. So it is right for the government to deal with the reassignment of spectrum for mobile services. But what about the ATV and TVB? Will you consider auctioning some of the spectrum occupied by the two free TV companies? Is there any consistent policy in this regard? These people have free TV licenses, but they can make use of spectrum for transmission. In future, if other broadcasting organizations would like to use spectrum for broadcasting, do you have this policy to allow it? Perhaps it should be for the Secretary to answer the policy issue, because this is about broadcasting. Mr. Sin asked whether there is any consistency in policy. In fact, we do, because as I said in my opening remarks, in our spectrum policy framework, the principle applies to all radio spectrum. So that would cover broadcasting as well. And the framework has said it out very clear that when they are overriding public policy reasons, we can deviate from the full-fledged market-based approach. Well, free TV will ensure the members of the public have free information, entertainment, education, and other things. So they are overriding public interest involved. So our consideration is consistent. Regarding the technical aspect, may I invite the DG to answer? Yes. As the Secretary said, whether the radio spectrum is for broadcasting or mobile services, well, the assignment of the spectrum will have to follow the principles in the spectrum policy framework. As the Secretary said, if there are competing demands, we will use a market-based approach unless there are overriding policy reasons. So for the spectrum in question, we have gone for option 3 because of overriding public interest, and the same applies for broadcasting. So if some people want to see the spectrum for free TV services to be auctioned, that means there are competing demands, and perhaps then that should override public interest, right? Well, I'm afraid you have to wait until the next round. We scheduled this item until 10:15, but then we spent some time on other issues, so we overrun a little bit. Claudia Mo. According to the administration, existing licensees should not have legitimate expectation that there will be any rights of renewal or rights of first refusal. Still, you allow them to keep 2/3 of the existing spectrum, and 1/3 will be relinquished for auctioning. So as a matter of policy, you do allow them to continue to operate. You have already given them a legitimate expectation. Existing operators are very unhappy, saying that you have gone against international practice. Why do you require them to relinquish 1/3 of the spectrum? In Australia, the UK, and New Zealand, the operators have the agreement automatically renewed. So, are you being schizophrenic? What about fair competition? And for incumbent operators, they say that under option 3, all the data are, or you only have speculations and projections. How can you ensure that your projections are correct? Why we have not decided to re-auction all 120 megahertz of spectrum? That is because of overriding public interest. If we re-auction all the spectrum, then that will be a great problem for service continuity of the tens of millions of users. For 2 to 3 years, there will not just be a decrease in service quality. There may be no indoor mobile coverage as well. So this is an overriding public interest, and therefore we have to depart from the full market-based approach. Operators say that in Australia, Canada, UK, they give automatic renewal. May I give the following information to you? In the UK, designation of spectrum and the licenses actually are indefinite. There is no expiry date. For Australia and Canada, their licensees do have legitimate expectations for rights of renewal. So this is very different from what we have in Hong Kong. For Holland, Ireland, and Australia, well, all the spectrum will be re-auctioned. No, I'm afraid the crux of my question is, you say there will not be any right of renewal when, in fact, you do give them a right of renewal. And operators believe that you are doing it so haphazardly that they cannot be viable. So you do not really follow what's in your policy framework. Why do we allow them to retain 2/3 of their spectrum, to give them the right of first refusal? And that's because of the overriding public interest. Because keeping 2/3 will ensure service quality for the many mobile data users in Hong Kong. Ms. Claudia Mo doesn't accept that you use overriding public interest to prevail over the interests of the incumbent MNOs. Mr. Yu, yes, these 4 MNOs, we should consider whether these incumbent MNOs are providing good quality of service. So what is their quality so far? And what about the number of complaints? And what about the contract requirements, agreement requirements? Surface of quality. Well, the number of complaints rather even for the 5 MNOs. It depends on different issues. For instance, 2 years ago, the bill shock, the so-called, some MNOs received more complaints, but after discussion with them, things improved. And for signing of contracts, for some time, there was a surge of complaints. For overall performance, mobile data services, in terms of quality and choice, I think we are among the best in this region and even in the world. So the administration accepts the service quality of these incumbent operators. That's right. Mr. Ma Fung Kwok. Some MNOs are using both 3G and 2.5G spectrum. 2.5G services are provided to people who do not need high mobile data usage. However, these operators are using measures to encourage or to attract customers using 2.G to 3G services. And the strategy is not to offer 2G services as far as possible. So what will happen to the spectrum? The same may apply to 3G spectrum. There may be reduced demand because customers are encouraged to migrate to 4G services. Perhaps 3G spectrum will soon become valueless. So I'd like to know the administration's assessment of this trend. DG, I'll say a few words first and my colleague will supplement. We are technically neutral all along. The spectrum can be refarmed for high data usage services such as 3G and 4G. Some operators are doing that. For instance, if an operator cannot get any 4G spectrum, it will refarm its 2G spectrum to provide 4G services. Danny can supplement. Yes, what the DG said is more or less correct. Because we are technically neutral and operators can use any kind of technology they like. So some operators may bid for 2G spectrum to turn it to 3G spectrum or to 3G services. This is exactly my concern. Some MNOs might not have that spectrum, but they can have access to them through other means because some operators offering 2.5G services. From customers' point of view, they have been lured into using higher level spectrum. They may still be paying 2G prices, but in future, well, they may be forced to use more expensive services, although they don't really have need for it. So I'd like to ask the administration, what's your analysis? What is your analysis of the state of spectrum of the 4 MNOs? Well, all MNOs have a different amount of frequencies in the spectrum. Some are more spectrum rich. They can use 2G and 2.5G spectrum previously auctioned for 3G services. But some have only got 3G spectrum, 1.9 to 2.2 gigahertz spectrum. So there can be no refarming. So the allocation or distribution of spectrum is different for all operators. So it is for them to consider how they conduct their business. So this is a totally market-led approach. So they are in possession of different spectrum. And currently the fees range from $68 to $118 per month. So it's not true that MNOs are luring for operators that encourage customers to switch to 2G services. That doesn't mean that customers are forced to use more expensive services that they don't need. When there is competition, the market forces will be at work. We have never regulated fees and charges, but I think mobile data users in Hong Kong are paying sometimes 1/10 of what their counterparts are paying in London or in New York and other places. So competition has kept fees low. Mr. Leung Kwok-ong. Thank you, Chairman. So, according to the administration, they expect 4 possible MNOs. One is China Enterprise, right? China Mobile. You talk about China Mobile. No, it is not an incumbent MNO.
So one extra, isn't it? According to your calculation, there won't be any more coming, right? Okay, so I'll take it as 1. I've only one worry. Many Hong Kong people use telecommunications devices. I don't know of the other operators, but for this 5th one, I'm worried about the protection of our freedom of communications or freedom of information. It's so simple. Well, all along, China Mobile has been providing mobile services. It's just that it does not have 3G spectrum. It's renting 3G spectrum from other operators. Is offering 2.5G, 3G services for a long time. I know, otherwise you will not be so serious in coming to us with these proposals. If China Mobile is able to get 4G spectrum, well, Mr. Leung, China Mobile is already providing mobile services. Well, don't interrupt me. I've given you sufficient face. They don't have all the spectrum, right, at the moment, but they're getting the spectrum from other operators. Well, very simple. I only represent myself one kind of opinion. That is, I'm worried that information may be hacked by other parties. Well, I dare not say whether or not they're doing that. Don't quarrel with me. I'm only worrying about it. I don't know whether this is already happening. There's no regulation at the moment. I'm expressing my worry. It's just like back then when a telecommunication company was to be sold to Singaporeans. The mainland authorities were also very worried. Well, what's your question then? Well, my question is very simple. For the spectrum to be auctioned, I have no problem with the 4 incumbent operators. But for China Mobile, as it is being controlled by the communists, or it is a state enterprise. Oh, that's very simple. That's why I have this worry. DG, as I said right from the very beginning, at present we have 5 MNOs. Yes, 5 MNOs. 4 were assigned 3G spectrum. They would like some 3G spectrum to be released for auction. Well, that's exactly my question. For those incumbent MNOs already providing 3G services, I have no problem. I'm talking about this new entrant. Time's up for you, DG. Well, I've heard the members' concern, but honestly speaking, I don't see how it is directly related to today's agenda. Ms. Emily Lau, thank you, Chairman. Just now you mentioned the letter from the incumbent operators. I hope that later we can have a written reply from the administration. I'd like to ask this question, which was asked just now. On page 2 of the paper, it is said that competition can be enhanced with this option. More people will enter the competition. Is it China Mobile? Well, they said that it's a bold guess. Well, the DG was asked, but she said she didn't know. Well, of course, we would like to have more competition. According to the government's calculation, will there be more competition? And then we're told that there are other methods for them to enter the market. So are you only thinking about this particular operator? And then it is said that they don't want to unnecessarily confiscate the existing spectrum to punish the customers. And on the final page, they said that spectrum fee is among the highest in the world. If the government continues like that, prices will continue to rise, innovation and investment will shrink. Eventually, consumers will lose out. Are their worries reasonable? Government. This letter was faxed to us. I received a copy. I don't know whether other members have also received a copy. The letter was addressed to our members. And then there's no letterhead, but there are signatures. The issues raised in the letter may represent the worries of the incumbent operators on the proposal of the government. DG, you haven't received the letter, but you know the content, right? Well, I'll try to answer Ms. Lau's questions. Now, Chairman, I've not received a copy of the letter. I've asked the Secretariat, which has been cooperative in providing copies to us. Well, DG, would you please try to answer those questions? And Chairman, can we pass this letter to the government? Please give them a copy. And then the government should give us a written reply, because I believe those are genuine issues. Will consumers' rights and interests be affected? Well, this was a letter faxed to us. Whether or not to disclose to the government is the right of the issuers of the letter. For the 120 megahertz competition, first of all, the 4 incumbent 3G MNOs will get back some of the spectrum. China Mobile is the only MNO that does not have 3G spectrum. In their papers to us, they've expressed very clearly their wish. In the past, we did have spectrum auctions, before which there's no expression of interest from new operators. The last time, one operator was able to enter the market, but before the auction, the company did not tell us that they would like to join the market. As for spectrum utilization fee, SUF, it depends on what time you're talking about. On the average, for every megahertz per year, it is $11.7 million. But then it increased to almost $100 million when higher spectrum was auctioned. It depends on individuals' judgment as to whether it's high or low. Well, it could be as expensive as $100 million to $250 million per megahertz. Well, for this, 2 more members would like to speak. Chairman, some questions have already been answered. The government would like to give China Mobile a chance to get 3G spectrum. And some members asked follow-up questions, and the DG also understands that for 2G, 2.5G, 3G, etc., all these are names for the spectrum. But now the differences are not huge. Spectrum is spectrum. For China Mobile in particular, because all along we're talking about China Mobile, in fact, it owns quite a lot of spectrum when compared with the 4 incumbent 3G MNOs. So I'd like to clarify one point. Now, don't say that we want to give another company to get 3G spectrum. For incumbent MNOs, they are using 3G spectrum to provide 4G services. New devices won't use 2 or 2.5G. It will be 3 or 4G. DG? Well, for every MNO, the distribution of spectrum in their spectrum storage vary. Well, absolutely, China Mobile does not possess the highest number of frequencies or spectrum. It's actually in the middle in terms of storage. It depends on how much it would like to acquire. Well, we won't assist a particular operator. We won't assist a particular operator, whether or not it is an incumbent or a new entrant. But we would like to strike a balance. At the end of the day, we accord the highest priority to consumers' interest. Mr. Sin Chung Kai, we're told that there is consistency in policies. Now, 3 years in advance, we already had policy documents, consultation, so forth. Now, for broadcasting policy, you mentioned consistency. When are we going to have policy documents and consultation documents on the renewal of spectrum of free TV services? DG, Chairman, in fact, for the renewal of broadcasting spectrum, it's actually done through one proposal by the former broadcasting authority that's submitted to the CE in Council. As for the communications authority, at least 1 year before the expiry date, proposals have to be submitted to the CE in Council. And for preparation work, the past performance, behavior, regulatory behavior, public consultation, etc. of the existing 2 free TV stations would have to be reviewed and assessed, and will start review within this year. Well, so much for this item, because we're 20 minutes behind schedule for this topic. We'll move on to digital terrestrial television update. So thank you very much, officials. Secretary and Deputy Secretary will remain. And we have Mr. Aaron Liu, Principal Assistant Secretary for Commerce and Economic Development, as well as Mr. Cho Se-leung, Assistant Director, Office of the Communications Authority, to join them. Now, this item is on the digital terrestrial television update, which is an annual discussion. Coverage rate will be discussed. We would like, whether or not throughout Hong Kong, we can have digital terrestrial television. And when will analog TV be replaced? Secretary? Permanent Secretary? First of all, I'd like to introduce to members the latest situation of DTT network coverage. The 2 domestic free TV program service licensees have made sufficient progress. By the end of 2011, there were 29 stations, and now they're doing enhancement. They will also assess the terrestrial coverage. At the end of December last year, the coverage rate was about 98% of Hong Kong's population. And this year, the 2 television stations will do enhancement with the objective of attaining, by the end of this year, about 99% of the population as for analog TV. 70% of households, 1.6 million of them, can, through their devices, to receive terrestrial broadcasting. As for infiltration rate, it has actually slowed down. Together with TV stations, in the first quarter of this year, we can complete a survey so that we can further understand how much of the public are still not using digital TV. By enhanced promotion and publicity, will it disseminate to the public the advantages of digital TV broadcasting. For the 2 broadcasters, they've applied to change from MPEG2 to H.264. And the CA's approval has already been obtained. Paragraphs 4 to 7 of the paper have set out the details. After such transfers, the pictorial quality of the 4 channels can be improved, and more three-dimensional broadcasting can be done. That will benefit the public. In fact, one of the TV broadcasters, after the transfer, has actually changed to a high-definition TV broadcasting. We'll continue to monitor the situation, including public transfer to the new mode of broadcasting and follow-up arrangements to ensure a smooth transition to digital TV broadcasting. At present, our objective is still to switch to digital TV broadcasting by 2015. Thank you.
Members, please indicate whether you want to speak on this item. The coverage is not a problem, but the penetration rate, according to the administration, is slowing down. That means is low, less than 20%. I think only the very poor households and the elderly persons and poor households, they don't want a digital TV. And the content is also of concern. What do you have to offer? The two TV stations have no incentive to improve the quality of program. For instance, ATV are using these channels to broadcast old productions. All right, the coverage is okay, we believe. I'm sure you can reach the target, but for the penetration rate for the elderly persons and poor households and also the public housing tenants, they think that it's okay for them to watch the programs offered by analog TV. They don't want the digital channels. And the issue is the content. For instance, ATV may, I think the Guangdong province produce programs that are quite good, but ATV turned that to use it to broadcast very old productions. DG, or rather PS. Of course, whether the content is attractive will affect the take-up rate of DTT, and we understand that the public have aspirations for better content. We do not regulate on the percentage of rebroadcasting of old productions. However, there is a license renewal procedure every year. OFCA will, or rather BA would organize public hearings to consult the public. This year we will have another round of public consultation or hearing, and we do it when the licenses are due for renewal. And I'm sure BA will consider this when it's time for license renewal. 2015, the two free-to-air TV licenses will be due for renewal, and I think very soon you should form your own position or have recommendations. Because for DTT, well, the quality will be better, but we also want the content to be better. If you do not have any incentive to for the two licensees to improve their content, there is no use. People rather watch TV on the web. There is contradiction here. By 2015, you will renew the licenses for the two free-to-air TV stations. There are few operators that are interested, and you have not granted the license to them. Well, for the last item, you want competition. You allow China Mobile to join the competition. I don't know what is your policy. If a potential competitor enjoys good relations with you, you allow it to enter the game. For potential competitors which may not be tie in with your policy, you don't want to give them a chance. And I agree with Yuk-man. I have watched these programs as well. Now for ATV, it's got almost 10 China satellite channels from Hubei, from Shenzhen, Liaoning. I have enhanced my knowledge. What's the point of filling these channels with low quality programs? So, have you considered that the only way for you is to allow more competitors so as to improve quality? Because currently there is monopoly by 2 TV stations. P.S. I think at the last meeting, the secretary came to explain that the Executive Council was dealing with applications for new TV licenses, and we adhere to the legal requirements, and we ensure fairness, and the two TV companies also welcome competition. If the 2 TV companies are applying for license renewal, we will certainly consider public views and also content of programs. No, I think you have misunderstood what I said. There is no need for you to regulate what these 2 TV stations are doing. You just allow more competitors. You don't have to regulate the content of, say, infant formula. You just allow competition. There are investors who would like to join the competition. You say no, and you allow 2 TV stations to occupy our precious spectrum and network. That's where the problem lies. You say you will monitor the content or the quality of the programs. How can you do that? Mr. Charles Mock, my question is very simple. On one hand, I agree very much with Leung Kwok Hong. There is a TV station that offer just the same programs. I think it is a waste of resources, and we need more competition in this sector. From now to 2012, there is, as of 2012, the take-up rate is only 1.3%. I know the remaining households would be the most difficult to reach. So how can you ensure that even if you can't have 100% take-up rate, you can make it higher than 70%? Because the more you proceed, it's harder for you to increase the take-up rate further. So how can you cover the remaining 30%? This is exactly our concern. So in this quarter, we are going to conduct a survey to find out the reasons why some households are not using DTT, and we'll also learn from other jurisdictions to see what measures do they have when they have a similar exercise. But this is really not easy. Mr. Mock, I hope you can think of new ways. It is important because this is part of the digital divide. And it is important that people can use TV as a platform to ensure their right of know. The elderly households and poor households will be part of the 28.7%. If after the survey it is found that indeed they constitute the majority of the 28.7%, perhaps we should discuss with the Labour and Welfare Bureau. Mr. Ma. I'm concerned that the government has set a deadline for abolishing analog TV. So is there the need for you to defer that date? And how does the administration, what is the administration's assessment of the success or otherwise of digitalization of TV services? The administration has spent a lot on digitalization, but not digital broadcasting. Well, for digital audio broadcasting, the government has done a lot. It is our plan that by 2015 end, we will have all TV services provided by DTT. And of course, if there is any change to this program, we'll inform the public. At present, the target is still end of 2015. We have no intention to give up that target. What about digital broadcasting? Yes, we have started that, and we have promoted that to operators. Very soon I'll meet them again to see what can be done in terms of publicity and promotion. You cannot have 100% take-up rate for DTT. I think it is all because of the quality of your programs. Operators are not willing to invest to improve their program content, but I won't simply blame it on the government for not giving more licenses. But has the administration considered what are the reasons for that, and also what can the government do? Production and quality of TV programs. There are two free-to-air TV stations, and at the midterm review, we took notice of public requirements or views. We've asked the TV stations to have more productions of their own and to enhance quality. So we put it in the requirements, and we've asked them to have more productions of their own, and I think they have complied with that. And as for the standard and quality, I think the public have a lot of expectations, but you are giving them more channels. You have the simulcast channel and also digital channel. There are more channels, but nothing to see, and that's the problem. They are just repeating the programs for the analog channels to digital channels. What's the point? For instance, Jade, instead of Jade, they have a High D Jade channel. What's the point? Or J2 channel. Mr. Albert Chan, I know many members of the public are still using free analog TVs, and in many places, they just cannot receive DTT, for instance, in Yunnan, Lofo Shan. What about Lantau? Well, for most of Lantau, but the situation in Yunnan is worse. They may be able to receive a Zhujiang channel, but not ATV and TVB. This is very ironic and pathetic for Hong Kong. And the administration has said many times that these places are too remote and population is not enough, and therefore they will not provide a transmission station to provide the service. Is it because of digital TV or TT you are not going to take care of the needs of the remote places? We will continue to cover them. We know the coverage is better than what it was. Last time was 96.1%, now is 98%. Of course, it's not as much as analog TV, but technically. But why is it that they can receive a Zhujiang channel and not TVB, although the latter has little to offer anyway? But this is ridiculous. This is particularly so for the coastal areas of Lofao-Shan. They can receive signals from Zhujiang TV channel, but not from TVB or ATV. Yes, the reception of analog TV is not so good at local Shan. And we're asking the licensees to use DTT to improve reception at places with reception difficulties in analog TV and DTT.
From September, for a year, there will be enhancement to raise the power of the devices and systems. So in future, Yuen Long and North District should have a better coverage. Well, can this solve the problem totally? We really have to look at the outcome of the enhancement program to see whether our set targets are met. If not, we'll further discuss with the two free-to-air TV broadcasters to see whether further enhancement will be carried out after September. Well, sometimes if they're blocked by a ridge, they can just add an antenna before they can receive the signals. But it is absurd and expensive as well as against land users to ask the residents themselves to do the job. In fact, the costs involved are very little. But all along they say that if the population is not big enough, they won't do anything. And for the enhancement program, is there any undertaking as to when enhancement can be completed? It's absurd that Hong Kong residents can receive the Zhujiang station but not Hong Kong stations. Well, they actually want to replace analog TV by DTT. But of course, now not even analog TV can be received by every corner of Hong Kong. As I said, policy-wise, we now have an exemption. That is, within a radius of 3 kilometers, if the population is less than 2,000 people, the broadcasters don't need to improve their service. We understand that the TV stations have their own concerns, but the government has a public responsibility. It is not acceptable that Hong Kong residents cannot receive Hong Kong TV but mainland TV. At present, 40 transmission stations are provided, and 11 are actually set up by Home Affairs Bureau, Correctional Services Department, or other parties concerned. So I think we'll try to enhance synergy here. But I think on the whole we're heading towards digital broadcasting. Within a certain time frame, analog TV will be closed. Now today we're discussing DTT, but sooner or later analog TV will be totally eliminated once DTT can have full coverage. But at present, some areas of Hong Kong can't even receive analog TV signals. We were told that government departments and the broadcasters will do something, for example, by enhancing and improving transmission stations. Mr. Albert Chan is not satisfied. Mr. Yu Si-wing, it's said that by 2015 or the end of 2015, analog TV will be eliminated. But TV sets are very durable, in particular for the elders. So what sort of arrangements the administration is thinking about the transitional period? Well, 2015 is our working target. We'll carry out a survey to examine the reason for not switching to DTT from analog TV. Well, we understand that the devices for transmission have already been dropping in price. Anyway, we've heard the voices of the residents concerned, including the elders. Well, not even the set-top boxes, not even the set-top boxes can solve this signaling problem. We'll consider all sorts of solutions. Thank you so much for this item. We have to finish by 11:13. Next item on the agenda, update on the work of the Create Hong Kong. We have Mr. Jerry Liu, Head of Great Hong Kong, and Mr. Ivanhoe Chang, Principal Assistant Secretary for Commerce and Economic Development. Perhaps we should first invite the Permanent Secretary to do a briefing. Thank you, Chairman. The purpose of the paper is to report to members the work of Great Hong Kong in the past year. Creative industries are the main impetus for Hong Kong's economy, covering film, digital broadcasting, entertainment, TV, etc. According to the status statistics, culture and creative industries in 2012 grew by $780 billion, 4.2% of GDP. In 2012, Great Hong Kong continued to liaise closely with creative industries in Hong Kong to discuss promotion of their industries, talent nurturing, and the launching of major events. We'll continue to promote the creative industries in Hong Kong and offer them support. The CEO in his policy address announced initiatives in that regard. For example, another $300 million will be invested into various efforts in promoting creative industries, including the comics home base. At the March meeting, we'll introduce to members these extra injection of funds into creative industries. Well, time is really limited. Who would like to speak? Please raise your hands. 3 minutes each. We have a PowerPoint presentation on the update on the work of Great Hong Kong. So please, Mr. Jerry Liu, try to complete your presentation in 3 minutes' time. Thank you, Chairman. First of all, I'd like to say something about the work report of Great Hong Kong in 2012. 3 highlights: nurture creative talents and set up new enterprises, market promotion, and promote Hong Kong as the Asian hub. In fact, we have $42 million for the next 3 years' operation. The objective is that in the next 3 years, we'll be able to nurture talents for 60 companies. In 2012, we had 22 new companies, 15 of which had graduated, so to speak. For comics, we'll have a support fund for 20 newly established comic companies. That is to provide direct financial subsidy to them to produce a 3-minute video to show their creativities. And that will be exhibited in this year's expo. As for tertiary students, in April last year, 50 tertiary students were sent to Milan to participate in a Milan Week exchange. For secondary students, in terms of construction, in October 2012, we completed a liberal studies discipline on art, and material kits were produced, with 20 schools sending their teachers to describe the contents of the material kit. And then for the mainland market, in March, the Entertainment Expo will see this film festival serving 6,000 purchasers. This is the biggest film trading market in Asia. For design, advertisements, and construction, we've provided to SMEs funding for visiting different cities of the mainland to provide matching services to users. In Hangzhou last year, we tried to enhance for the design industry their business network. In May last year, through our Shanghai ETO, we organized in Hong Kong Week in Wuhan a comic expo. Again, this is to promote our creative products in the Yangtze River Delta. Well, this is just to quickly show you the programs. Hong Kong International Film Festival, a lot of female members of the industry were given awards. This is an exchange forum with the biggest participation from young people. Last year, over 1,300 young participants from 20 Asian cities participated. Comic Star Avenue opened last year. In the first few months, 160,000 viewers were attracted. And you see 24 representative comic figures set up there. And then in Hong Kong, Shenzhen, we got this biennial exhibition for architecture and construction, with Taipei participating for the first time. We hope that this will become an exchange forum for Great China. Asian Music Festival, Pop Music Festival, with new and young singers participating. We have performers from Korea as well. And then with Hunan satellite TV and Hong Kong TV stations, we have over 100 million viewers last year. Now, I have to mention Hong Kong Year of Design. At the top right corner, you see a very big website for voting by viewers for the best design. Over 170,000 members of the public participated in the vote, and the blue, white, red bag won the award. And then 700 post boxes were set up in different districts of Hong Kong, in Wah Fu, in North District, actually throughout the 18 districts. And many people were not familiar with its design, so we provided an opportunity. And then for the business sector, Denmark was a major guest last year. And then there's another exhibition with Asia as the theme. And we also invited 200 students, including 100 local students and 100 students from all over the world, to participate in an exchange camp. And finally, in December last year, we broke the Guinness record. 340 garments were displayed by 340 models. And over 150 students participated in the activity, even with winning entries being exhibited. And 27 new events were launched under 63 broad projects last year. Well, achievement is, of course, important, and we do have indicators. Ever since our establishment in June 2009, we supported 240 projects with over 500,000 participants, excluding the statistics for last year's design year, which is still being vetted. And we created over 2,000 full-time or part-time job opportunities. For participants' return, 90% deem our activities useful and 98% satisfied. And for the 22 companies included, there are over 400 employees with 91 intellectual property rights. Altogether, 94 international awards. So for 2012, there's an additional 12. In 2013, our major work has already been mentioned in the policy address.
We'll continue nurture talents, expand the market, and also stage large-scale creative events. I don't have time for support for the film industry. Let's see if we have time later. But these are two very good examples. In 2012, there's Cold War was there was a hit in ticket sales, and then Mac Hei-yan only graduated in 2006 in City U, and then in the past 3 years she has already directed 2 long movies. So this is not the competition or the selection is not just by competition. Next March, there will be a series of seminars for people or film movie makers who are interested in this event. There will be related seminars to coach them how to drop their proposals. And then regarding promoting creativity, creative clusters, and also day tour. Well, I will not spend time on these 2 events because it's already mentioned in the policy address. All right, 2 members, 3 minutes each. Any others? All right, I draw a line after that. Mr. Ma Fong Kwok. Well, create Hong Kong. Now, let me declare interest. I was once a member of one of his committee to vet funding applications. I think many of the events are very worthwhile. I'm quite concerned about their effectiveness or performance indicators. You can look at Paris 4 to 7. Now, we do not just look at statistics. The quality is also important. Over 5 million participants, over 2,000 job opportunities, and 5,800 job opportunities. Well, I think, what about the outcome or the quality? All right, afterwards, how many jobs are left? We might have supported over 20 organizations, over 10,000 projects. But how successful is the incubator? How many jobs have been created? How many projects have been successful? As in general, I think the scale and also coverage of Great Hong Kong is not sufficient. I hope there can be more detailed analysis of its performance outcome, not just the simple statistics. Mr. Chung, thank you. In the past 3 years, Great Hong Kong has supported many or sponsored many projects. In next year's panel, now because another $300 million would be injected into a Create Smart initiative. So next month there will be more information for members. For instance, support for the animation industry. It was organized early last year. The products will be shown in the Entertainment Expo in the coming March. And then cable TV will also will also air the animation produced. So we may have to wait until the fourth quarter of this year before we can have an assessment of the performance outcome. All right, in the PA, there is the initiative to support the first feature film. That's the first feature film initiative, but our scale is too limited. For animation, for instance, our size is just a few hundred square meters, whereas in the mainland, it can be a few hundreds or thousands of meters square. Ms. Emily Lau. All right, we see some of the figures here, but from a broader perspective, right, you might have trained talents and help nurtured companies, but do they have any room of survival? For instance, because of revitalization of industrial buildings, many of creative groups have been evicted because of high rental. And the film industry, movie industry is very miserly. Even those who are in design work, they are very low paid, and you say that market forces will be at work. I think it's good that you have done so much for them, but do we have a good career prospect and promotional prospects for them? The PS, or rather the head of Greater Hong Kong. I say a few words first, and then Mr. Liu can supplement. Regarding help for young people, yes, it's not easy for them to find a place of their own to create their works, but in PMQ, we will have 100 or so areas for them to set up their workshops. Yes, the income may not be very high, and this is this is also hard work, but I think there is great potential. Mr. Liu. For the movie industry, there are behind-the-scene workers, and they account for the majority of movie workers. They usually worked on a freelance and contract basis. The pay would depend on the number of shooting days, and they are paid on daily wages. Now, compared with the income of the newly graduated counterparts in other industries, I think the pay is no inferior to their counterparts. Now, take for the lighting crew, if we talk about a new entrant, they are getting more than 10,000 months per day. And what about designer? Are they also poorly paid? Well, in design industry, the discrepancy is bigger, depending on the employer. And what we can do to help is to offer them internship. Well, after they graduate, they will have 1 year to work for large companies, hoping that they can enhance their competitiveness. Mr. Mok, I am also a member of the vetting committee under Create Smart initiative. I do agree with Mr. Ma Fong Kok. You should not just look at the number of projects, programs sponsored, the number of participants who have received training, and also a number of incubatees. Can you have more objective and concrete indicators? Can you say assess the impact on economic activities? Or jobs that have directly or indirectly make an impact on the economy. I know it's not always easy to do that, but CSI accounts for half of the funding for Create Hong Kong. Some of the programs are very large scale. For instance, Entertainment Expo is very costly. And yet Hong Kong or local people do not know very much what is happening. So are such activities really useful to our export trade? Do you have related workshops for related industries to look them understand how the money will be spent and how it can be spent to benefit them most? Create Hong Kong was set up in 2009. That was quite a while ago. Isn't it time for us to receive feedback from the industry? For instance, they may tell you what areas is particularly hard to get funding. So have you done that in the past? If yes, will you do it again now? Mr. Liu? Yes, in 2012, in between October and December, we had met with three types of stakeholders. We asked them their views on the effectiveness of CSI in the past 3 years. We asked them for ways to improve our program. These stakeholders are people who have received our support, and the second kind are representatives of chambers of commerce from different industries and related persons. And the third kind of stakeholders are those who are on our vetting committees. So all three groups have given us views. Mr. Chen Chi-chun. Well, the report card was made by Create Hong Kong. So it's for Create Hong Kong to devise the measurement yardsticks. If we really want to assess the work issue for us to set out the measurement criteria. It's been criticized for spending money on parties, exhibitions, movie, in festivals and so forth. Yes, of course, you throw parties, you allow them receptions. Of course, you ask them to sign a feedback form. They will say that it is useful because it's better than nothing. Now, take a look at Annex 2, the support for film, the movie industry. Now, for the film industry, you have two types. Film Development Fund for film-related projects. I think it was about the parties, and Film Development Fund, film productions. I think over 7% of the money is spent on film-related projects, only 30% on film productions. I'd like to know whether this ratio is just by coincidence, or did you make up that ratio yourselves, and also 19 approved 45 applications for film productions. All right, we spend a lot of production. We should spend more money on publicity if we think that our products are excellent. But is it true that our movies are very high quality? Well, the production number has dropped year by year. It's okay, you have one or two more outstanding movies. But even if you reap awards, that doesn't mean that the industry is thriving. You should not just throw parties and publicize our movies overseas. 10 years ago, we were very brilliant, but are we still that nowadays? So what is the quality? And what is the direction? Mr. Liu. Thank you. Well, there are two different funding schemes under Film Development Fund. One is for film production, and the other is for film-related projects. Well, the ratio of money spent on these two schemes is a natural phenomenon. It's not planned. The funding for in the past 3 years, well, the average approval amount was much higher than what it was a year ago. Do we throw parties too often? Well, I must say that one of our important strategies with the recognition of the Council is to make Hong Kong the Asia City of Creativity. Therefore, large-scale projects are related for publicity. And I think Mr. Chen has raised a very important and valid issue. And if Mr. Chen has time, I'm more than happy to give a more detailed briefing to him. Thank you. All right, I will have to end this item here, but I'd like to say a few words.
Just now, Mr. Chen Chi-Chun asked some questions. In 2009, Create Hong Kong was established. Its main duty is to provide support and one-stop service to local creative industries. But from this report and from past reports, events were their major work. So you are putting the cart before the horse. Therefore, I'd like to see some improvement. You really have to go back to the basics. You have to be responsible for coordinating our local creative industries, provide funding and one-stop service to them. So you should inject more money into, say, talent nurturing. So we don't want to see in future that your major work is the organization of events. You have a lot of slogans, great and grand words, etc., etc. Well, film is actually not your business, but you have included that in your report. We've got a sum of money for you. Next month, you'll come again for money. So I don't think you should be event-led. And don't produce these bureaucratic papers to us. Time's up. Thank you.